Okay, I just set up things and start working and see if someone comes. This is just a test to see if it works and if I can actually do this or not. So I've set up for a Photoshop session and I'm just gonna work here and do what I would normally do, and then we'll see if anyone pops in and says something in chat. I'm going to work on Southern Shieldlands today. It's the area I'm using for my campaign, and at the moment I'm working on adding trees and stuff in Photoshop. It's basically making the masks that I can use in 3D in 3D tools like World Machine and View and others afterwards for rendering the final image. So this is just painting on the mask, the tree mask. So first I need to get not that one. Let's work on the evergreen for a bit here up in the hills. I'm going to select here. I have a 3D model of the landscape here, so I'm going to see currently working here. So I want to see what the actual layout look, and I think this is, yep, that's the way to do it. That's the way to be. Hello, wonderful, welcome. Let's. Oh, I can't pronounce your handle, but VCX. So thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sitting here working in Photoshop, and I'm working on my Southlands map for both for my own campaign, and that will be released on my website a little bit. So I'm working on my on forest. So I'm actually painting in tiny little trees here. This is a top-down view. So what I'm actually doing is I'm doing the mask here that I can use in 3D afterwards. So I'm going to mask it out. So these are the all the areas that I'm painting in. So these are the conifer trees that I'm painting in at the moment. So you can do some of this in automation, so to speak, and program it in 3D, but it doesn't really get it. So I want to, especially this terrain that is going to be fairly sparse when it comes to trees. So there are some trees that I've let World Machine do by itself, so to speak, programmatically using fractals, but then I want to be more precise. So I simply want to paint them exactly where I want them. So this is tedious work that takes about 5 or 6 hours for the map. Thank you. Yep. And I actually have this terrain I'm working on. Here is the 3D model that I'm having in World Machine. And this is actually low resolution. I can do a little bit like this, and we can see if we can see it in a little bit higher resolution. So this is about half the resolution of the real thing, or about a quarter resolution of the real the final version of it. So this is the area I'm working on right now. So we have a lake here, and there's some hills. I call them the Syrian hills in Greyhawk. So let me also show what area we're actually in the world of Greyhawk when I'm doing so. This is my campaign version of the map, so I'm using that for reference here. So I'm just gonna see if I can get my Wacom pen. There we go. Get that sorted out, and there we go. My computer is not really up for the task, but we'll see. It might work. So this is actually the area on the Greyhawk map that this is it. So it's in the Syrian hills. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. There we go. So it's in this area here. That's where we are doing right now. I'm doing it in Photoshop, really detailed. So I'm going to so it's, and this area is kind of just sparsely, it's not that many trees. It was probably a lot of trees back in a few thousand years ago, but the old flan and the dry climate and stuff has diminished most of the trees. But up here in the hills, I simply assume that there's almost all of the original forest is here, or most of it. So that's why I'm painting in way more trees up here in areas that are kind of remote from any towns or villages or anything. And just to get a sense of the scale, we can take a look at the village of Aldith, where I actually have the adventure is taking place at the moment. Oops, sorry. There we go. This is the village of Aldith. So it's every pixel is 5 feet. So this is 1 pixel per screen, but I can zoom in a bit. This is as detailed as the map gets, so to speak. So it's 225 square miles of terrain in one go that I'm working on at the moment. So I'm going to go back up here in the hills and continue to work on the trees. And I also have a mask that I have to make sure that, yeah, it's there. So I have actually made a mask, so I can actually say, so everything that is white here is where trees can be placed. So I've loaded that as a mask in Photoshop, but I've hidden the extra, so to speak. So for those who are interested in Photoshop stuff, there is a mask, but these kind of marching ants are kind of ridiculous at the moment, so I'm actually hiding that so I don't see it. But this way I can make sure I don't paint over. It's like if I paint here, I can't paint trees where it's too there's bare rock, or I can paint where there's water and stuff like that. So that means that it's pre-made, so I can just point the general area. And I'm also using the pencil tool, and I'm using it with some texture and scattering and stuff, so I get this kind of spread out pattern. So I'm just painting in where I think the trees should be. And I always try to have a look at the overview map so I know where I am. You kind of get lost in this. Thank you. Yeah, I try to. This is partially is part of this is to understand how the real world works in order to figure out how you want your fantasy world to work, so to speak. Yeah, Nirdiv is one of these interesting things that I think the story the if you make it in, it will actually fit the story even better. That it was the great kingdom that realized the potential and kind of aided nature a bit by making a canal and then dam it up, because then they get a river that is more navigable because there is not much water flowing through it. It becomes a canal, the critical bit, and it can also be defensible for the city of Greyhawk. So I thought that was really cool. So in my campaign, that is actually the case. So let's see here. And these trees are a little bit brighter, and those are the deciduous trees, the leafy trees. What I'm painting in here are conifers and evergreen trees, so conifers and pines and stuff. And it's not much difference now in Photoshop because it's just two different masks. But once I get them into 3D, and if I use a game engine and stuff, then I can use different models for the different masks. So they will be actually separately loaded into the 3D tool that I will eventually use to render this. And that means that they can be different types of species. So I differentiate between the regular leafy trees and the evergreen deciduous trees. Oh, sorry, the evergreen trees and the deciduous. So those are the two general groups of trees. I don't think we need to be more precise than that in general fantasy mapping. There's some elven areas and stuff that I might want to add kind of fantastic, really tall trees or something like that. And these brown areas are bogs, so they used to be lakes back in a long time ago, and then they slowly dried out and left this kind of boggy, marshy areas. And evergreens, pines and spruces and stuff, they kind of like to live in that, but normal birch trees and deciduous trees, they don't like bogs much, so that's why I'm painting in these more than others. And there's some basic editing that needs to be done too. I worked on some of these waters here are almost done, but they need one more go. There's some of these that I haven't. If you go up here, there are some waters that I've actually done here. I've added a bit more character and stuff to the water here, so I will do that to all the little rivers and stuff. So that's another hour of work or two maybe. So there's probably about 40 hours of work on this Photoshop after rendering. So I render this, and I render the texture and the shadow separately, and the shading is separate here, so I can remove the shading and then it becomes just a flat texture map, or I can put the shading on top. And the beauty of that is that I can change the color of this without affecting the shading. So what I'm doing here is I'm just doing the texture maps that is going to be used in 3D rendering, and I can use them in GIS or game engines or wherever I want in the future upgrades. So I put the trees here in a lot of these areas where they're so far away that people will probably not bother to go up and chop them down. So that's where most of these trees live, because this area probably been civilized, at least for the most part, for thousands of years. So most of these farmers and first the Flan and then the Airdie and others who lived here, they probably chopped down most of the trees, and then the climate had dried out a bit and helped. So, the, and but now the oh, thank you, Josh. I forgot to ask. Good. I'm running this stream at 1440p, so hopefully it's good enough. I wanted to that's why I'm using YouTube, so I can get a resolution that is so high that I can actually work in it, because 1080 then it's the resolution is so low that I can't even see what I'm doing myself. So this works fairly good. So I'm working on my shield land map here. So let's see, I'm going to zoom up. Yeah, there we have 1:1. It's always better to work in Photoshop, if possible, to work at 100% because you get sharpest. And here is one of the other thing. This is a keep, an old abandoned keep, and like a little mini castle with a little wall around it and stuff that was abandoned. And you see the roads going north and south from it. So that used to be there until at least up until the Greyhawk Wars, I think. Maybe earlier. I haven't decided exactly who lived there and stuff. So that's one of the things that I want to add a backstory and all that for it. But it needs some more trees around here. So I'm going to add a little bit of pine trees up here on the slopes. Here and there. And that is... there's a bit too many. I'm going to actually remove a few there. There we go. And then I'm going to see here if I can add some more trees up here on the higher slope where they were too lazy to go up there and chop them down. And there's also some cool areas up here. Here is an area that is like a hidden valley that you can't see from anywhere. So I'm thinking having some sort of druid old faith camp or something. Their freedom fighters are hiding out up here, and we can take a look and see what that looks like. We have the area in I have the low resolution render here in World Machine. So this is the area that here is where the keep is. This is only the render, so it doesn't have the fancy extras on the texture. That's what I'm working on right now. So here is that hidden valley and up here, so no one can see in here or anything. So you have to kind of go up either this way or that way or over here. So it's kind of one of these hidden away valleys. So I'm thinking this should be a sort of resistance camp, or some old faith people will hang out there. Some druid or something. So that's something coming in my campaign later on. Okay, so hi Jay. Yep, I'm working away here in my in Photoshop. So I'm sitting here working away. Hang on a second. Maybe I could turn on Discord or something and we can babble in Discord. Maybe that would work. I'll see if I can. I hope you. Yep. Oh, good. You got it, Jay. Yep. You got the file. That's good. Yeah. So I'm working here on getting these evergreens, the spruces and pine trees and stuff in the right spot here. And then I'm going to work on some buildings too, but probably about another 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something of trees, and then I'll vary and do something else for a bit. I thought this would be more boring than watching paint dry, but yeah. Oh, wonderful. Good to hear, Jay. Yep, you need some time off and have some time off. And you've been streaming too much. No, not too much. You can never stream too much. There we go. Just double check again that I have my mask on. Yep, mask is on. So I don't paint over the rivers here. There we go. Oh, I should probably do some leafy trees here again. Going to deselect that one and then select color range here, select the white. Okay, good. I get 5 viewers. Not bad for being the very first time I'm doing this. We'll see. Yeah. Even if no one watches, at least it forces me to sit here and do it, not slack and do something else. So there we go, and I'm going to do deciduous, and I'm going to hide the marching ants. And now I can go in here and start doing a little bit of trees here at the edges. Just a few trees. And especially here down by the river, because it's probably wet enough there for it to be. Yeah, I think they're happy trees. They're happy trees. They just come to existence, so they're happy trees. I hope so. I think they're happy trees. Yeah. So I'm thinking, so what kind of lord would have its hideout in the southern shieldlands up in the hills? I'm thinking one of these that became a trader with Ayus during the war or something like that. So he was probably kind of, he might have bet on the wrong horse or something. You never know. So I need to come up with a backstory for that place. But I just thought it was perfect little hill to have a keep on, or a small little castle. Yeah, definitely could be a. Maybe Ayus have handed that out to someone who was a worthy warrior in the conquering of the Shieldlands or something. So he handed that out to someone to have it as his or hers. Yeah. Yep. Peat bog. Yep. That's a good idea. Yep. So that way I should probably not have too many. I should not have too many trees. That they're probably logged at least around here. That's a good point. So not too many just around. So I have a little bit. Yep, that's a really good observation, because these are areas. As soon as you can conveniently cut down the trees, they probably have done. Yep, I probably have done so over the years. Okay, let's see here. I need to get this road down here. Let's work on that for a while. Let's see here. I'm just gonna save this so I make sure. It takes a while to save because this is like a 40 gigabyte file or something like that, but we can work while it's saving too. Okay, let's find the layer for roads. There we have roads, and now I need to change. I think I had did I have a road? I think I had trails. There we go. I had one ready for trails. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and see here. So there is a trail that goes from Gensal to Aldet, and oops, I've ended it here. I've gone this far with it, and I need to connect that thing here with that trail here. So, and let's take a look at what that looks like in 3D. So we have here, we have the general area here. So we need to go through, oops, that was a bit too much. We need to go through this valley here. So that's where the keep is, and the road goes that way, and then probably down here and follow the river to about this area, and then we'll see where I want to, yeah. So we'll see here. Yeah, that will be there. So let's go in here and I'll zoom in a bit here, a bit more. Yep. The trees, yeah, and especially trees grow back fairly well, at least within decades. And this area hasn't been logged or extensively lived in for the last 20 years in my campaign. So IUs have invaded and stuff, and most people have fled and stuff. So I don't think that many loggers have been out or people have been out logging for the past 20 years. So at least there should be way more bushes and stuff that come in. So yeah. So I'm going to get the, let's see here if that's the, yeah, that's the trail brush. That's one of the things you learn here. You get to set up. So I have hundreds of different brushes with the colors and stuff. And I'm actually cheating by looking at the 3D. I have this 3D view on my another monitor here on the right. So I can actually see what the 3D terrain is or what it looks like. So I'm going to go here, and then they go here, and then I just follow the landscape here. Yep, that's the cool. D&D is such a cool that you can have secondary hobbies and world building and specialize in different things. Some do monster designs and stuff. Yeah, geography perspective is my perspective of choice, so to speak. That's how I usually start my campaigns. I want to have a good view of what the landscape and good idea of what the landscape looks like, and then I kind of work from there. And this is kind of a continental humid to cold steppe climate here, so it's fairly dry. It's like Eastern Europe, something like that in a climate, so it's closer to humid than desert, so to speak. So it's like a cold steppe, semi-humid continental temperate climate in this area. And here we come to one of these streams, which is not bridged, so I simply assume that in spring and stuff it might be difficult to get across, but in most times of the year it's probably no problem to ford across it. That is like 10-15 feet wide river, so it's not that much. It's more like a creek. And now comes the tricky bit here. So yep, the old faith have definitely made it. The druids might have encouraged the trees to grow way faster. So up in that valley I want to create a lot of trees and really make it foresty. That's a good spot to hide out, because you never know. IUs have flying spies and stuff like that too. In my campaign he has skull crows, a form of skull crows and skull ravens. It's a form of evil, slightly smarter ravens and crows that are loyal to him. Hang on a second. Now I need to see where I'm heading with this. I can probably go here and then slowly go down here, and then we go across here, and then just lean in here, and it will be a downhill here down to we go down to the, and then we just follow the river here, cut in here. Yep, the eye demon things. Yeah, he had big bats, abyssal bats. I use skull crows and other things. And that's one of the things I need to do. I need to mask off the trees, but I can do that afterwards. When I'm done with this, I'm going to mask off the trees so the trees don't grow on top of the trail. But when I see this, it looks really realistic. It looks kind of really super cool. This is an area where you can create an ambush or something. So yeah, Varagoin. Yep, that's it. The abyssal bats. Yep. And here comes now I have to start Krebane. That's an interesting, or Krebane, or how you pronounce it. I use version of Krebane. That's kind of, that was an interesting name. Is that abyssal bats? And here comes after that joining of the rivers, then we come into a narrow bit like a canyon here. So I get to take the little trail through this canyon. Here we go. Yep. This is interesting. Bridges are a chapter in itself, because a lot of these small road travel in like medieval times, and I simply assume in most areas in a fantasy world, depending on the climate, of course, but a lot of areas like spring and winter, the travel can be really, really tricky. And especially in temperate areas or northern cold climates where you have lots of rain and water, then in spring and late winter the roads and stuff can be terribly difficult, and people probably stay at home. Peat bog, the crow Saruman. Yep. Yep, that was my idea, that I use a version of them. So they are like ravens and crows, but they have just a bare cranium instead of the feathers and stuff on their heads. I'm not really sure that I like the idea of having the trail go through the canyon. It seems to be kind of tricky. I think I want to try yeah, I'm going to reverse that thing. So I'm going to hide this, and then I'm going to hide the shading, and hopefully I can see the trails. Yeah, maybe. So what I do, I just make a big brush in black, and then I just paint them away here. Come on here. Yeah. There we go. Okay. There we go. Let's turn on the shading, and I turn on the texture. There we go. Then turn on the trails again. And then go back to the standard, make them 2 in size. And then I'll let the trail go across. It's better to go that way, I think, because that one is much wider. So I'm going to make sure I have one white and black color. So I'm going to take, this is just a country trail, so to speak, so it's not that big of a deal in the form. So no bridges, not much infrastructure or anything. So it's more like people have walked this way for generations kind of thing. So I'm going to take the trail up here, and I keep a lookout here, and this is steep, but it's probably not steeper than you can actually walk up, or you can use a horse up, but it's probably something that would be too much to use a wagon up this way. That is, so now we're going to time to to actually make it bigger here. So we go back and we redo this. This is something with the tricks. You should always work with masks that you paint. So you have the texture and then you paint on and off, because then you can actually paint on and off the effect you want as needed, so to speak. So that's why I'm using the black and the white colors. I just shift between. So I'm just going this way, and now it's too big again. One, that's better. So I'm going to simply go up that way, and then I'm going to do a hairpin, and I'm going to go that way a bit, and then I'll do another hairpin and go that way, and a small hairpin and that way. And here comes the tricky bit, because I'm looking at the 3D, and I can show you what I'm looking at. So we are actually up here. So the road goes up, and I want it to go that way, but it's too steep to go that way. So I'm actually going to let it go that way and circle around, because then it's not that steep. So I'm going to let it go across here, and then just go around here, because these are just small creeks that are 5 feet or less they're about 5 feet wide, so you can easily, they will be knee deep maybe, and then let the trail go this way. And here are some boulders and dry moss and stuff, so that is probably fairly easy to go. At the bottom, yes, that will be, yep. So that will be something they will probably repair it every spring, and then it will be whatever it will be over summer, so to speak. And then so every spring they will send out patrols to fix it, and that will be it. So yeah. So this trail here now is in bad shape, because no one had done any maintenance for 15 years or more. So it's in bad shape. So it's no longer a road. I would simply designate a trail. And the difference for me with trail and a road is that a trail, you can't go wagon wheels. Forget it. It's only the only thing that could work is you can walk or you can ride. As long as you use legs, it's possible. So that's the big difference. A road is something that you can actually take some sort of vehicle on. And here I'm going to say that we go across there, because it's fairly flat. And then we simply go down here diagonally down here. And then we can go across there, and then we can go across here. And yeah, it is probably, if I go that way, and then I make a hairpin up, and one more hairpin, and one more hairpin, and then we're up here. And the reason I can do this back and forth is I'm looking at the 3D, so that way I can get a bit more sense of where we are. And now it's the easy part here. You can just go here, and this is a little kind of canyon, and we go around these outcroppings here, and through there are some boulders and stuff. Then we just go here, and we connect to the other one. So now we've done it. My campaign is actually set in 598, so I'm currently in the winter between 598 and 599. So it's 2 weeks from Needfest, or 10 days or something like that. No, it's 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. So it's like 16, 18 days or something like that to Needfest in my campaign. So, but this is what I want to have in my mapping, so to speak, for my campaign. I want to have these elaborate maps that I can simply describe travel. I can figure out cool things that happens on the way and stuff. So this is the kind of canvas I need. This is like treating the outdoors as a dungeon map. And there's a bridge here. There's a bridge there, and there's a bridge over here. Hang on a second, I need to get a little bit bigger. Yeah, so there's a bridge here, and there's a bridge there too. Probably old, not maintained in 30 years or something, but they're stone bridges, so they probably sit there for quite a while before they actually fall apart. Okay, you have 9 viewers, so welcome everyone. So hang on a second, I can do like this. So hello everyone. Yep, so I'm sitting here working in Photoshop, working on my Southlands map for my campaign, and that my all my patrons and all the Greyhawk fans, they will be available later this year for everyone. And my patrons have seen sneak peeks are already available, but this map will be available in probably a month or so. The final thing, so to speak. I'm munching on a yogurt here too while I'm doing this, so I'm just waiting for my computer to save. It's a bit important. And when I'm streaming, I notice that I get some lag if I'm trying to use the work too hard while it's saving. So I need to have a faster computer. Hi David. Yeah, it's kind of secret. I put it on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and stuff. So not Twitch, but Twitter and stuff. So it's kind of semi-secret. I need, yeah, I need to listen to your advice and take that so I can advertise properly. So thank you again, David, for all your help. It's very appreciated. I know I've been terrible at giving thanks to people lately. I've been kind of so stuck in all sorts of things lately. So I have to apologize for everybody for being late with things. But this was one of the things I wanted to do that people have told me that I should do. So yeah. No, it's not on my Discord. I forgot that. So yeah. So I need to put it on Discord too. Yeah. Yep, my secret other stream. Okay, that was the let's do some more trees up here in the hidden valley while I'm at it. Pencil tool. No, now I see what was problem with the I had the deselect. I need to fill in a couple of the trail here, that things got lost here a little bit. That was due to me having the masking on here. So there I go. I need to get it. There was a couple of holes. Now I understand why it didn't. I'm too much of a perfectionist. I know I'm way too much of a perfectionist. But it needs to be as perfect as it can be. There we go. Okay. I'm going to first take this and go back for this and select color range again. There we go. There's a lot of weights. Half a day sometimes get lost in watching these kind of progress bars. Okay, now I can hide that layer, and then I can hide the marching ants, and then I can go to that one. And I need to make sure I have the right tool for the job. Yep, that's the right one, the pencil tool. And now go up to the secret area up here. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, I'll try to. I think both Alyssa and me, we are almost anal with our details and stuff. But this is something that I want to. This is too high for the. It's too high up in this for deciduous trees. So it will be evergreens. Okay, evergreens we do. Hang on a second. Just. Yep. It's too high for deciduous trees, so I do deselect this and we go with evergreens instead. So let's do that mask. Yeah, perfectionism is. I want to make things good. It might take a while, but hopefully they're useful for not eternity, but for quite some time. Meaning, my other Flanny's map that I'm been working on, and it's been useful for 20 years now, so it's still useful. Even I use it to this day, so that's why I think it's worth it to invest a lot of it, of time and effort into it. Now we're just gonna hide the marching ants, and then we go into forest evergreen and make sure we have the right tool, and now we can paint in some pine forest here, pines and spruces here, and there's an old bog in the middle, so now we can paint quite a bit of a forest here, so we can have a little old faith hideout here up in the hills. Yeah, hide the marching ants. Yeah, the mask, these kind of black and white moving dots that Photoshop and most other graphic tools use to show where you selected, not usually by a lot of people call them marching ants, and so they are there, but I hide them because I want to see what I'm doing. But the reason I put them there is that now I have a mask, so I'm not painting over things that have too much slope. I don't paint over water, and trees are only placed where they should be, or where it's possible for them to be, so to speak. So I can paint here on the slopes, but so all the rocky areas and stuff are off limits. So that is one of the masks that I've used World Machine and Photoshop to make, one for regular trees, so to speak, and one for evergreen trees. And mask is something I probably have 20 or 30 or something different masks. I have mask for flow, various types of erosion, deposition masks, water masks, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, definitely. I want to. There are some trees described in the glossography and the setting books. There are some declo trees, and there's a couple of them. They don't seem to grow in unusual places that much, but some of them are really big, and some of them have special fruits and stuff. So like galda trees or whatever. So I want to invent some more trees, more spectacular, interesting, special trees. So that's on my agenda. I'm working on some cat species right now, and some other species of animals that I've introduced, and for my campaign that I'm going to do some write up and give to my patrons and post on my blog. Now I need to double check and see what these mountains look like here. So I'm going to put away my pen, and then we're going to scroll up here. And yeah, this whole plateau up here looks flat enough to have significant amount of forest growth up there. So yep. So I'm going to put a fair bit of trees up here. This is kind of one of these hidden away forests, one of the few forests in Shieldlands, and certainly one of the few in southern Shieldlands are in these hidden away areas. So both Druidic Old Faith influence, and simply because it's been so far away, so people are lazy. No one goes all the way, effort of going all the way up there just to chop up for firewood or building a boat or a house or something. So that's why these trees have probably been here for millennia. And still the terrain is fairly craggy up here, so even if it's dense in small pockets of it, but between the pockets there is cliffs and slopes and various things here. So, but this could be interesting. There could be some interesting hideouts up here. I'm going to roughly there. Probably not enough to have lost world creatures, but I'm thinking more like a druid old faith camp, resistance to Ayus, or just an old druid grove that has been forgotten by and not discovered by Ayus and his people. So the few old faithers that are in the area, they probably sneak up here to do their prayers and gatherings and stuff like that, secret marriages and stuff. So that's what I see. But probably small animals, yeah, but not big things, because it's only each pixel here is 5 feet. So what you see across here is about a mile. So not that huge. Okay, we can probably have some more up here too. Any flat area, because this is probably about 2,000 something feet above sea level, something like that. So enough to get severe enough snow and stuff in the winter, and so on, but not certainly not above the tree line or anything. So it's high enough that a lot of leafy trees that are more demanding will not like to grow. But pine and hardy trees that lives up in the north, they thrive up here in the hills. So pine and spruce and stuff like that love these kind of sparsely hills, because there's a lot of clouds and stuff up here. So it's actually more humid up here, and they get enough water from clouds and rain up here, more than down in the on the flat, so to speak. That's why a lot of hills are more full of trees than plain lowlands are. In even in deserts there are clouds up in the mountains, so there are pockets of forest. Just go to Arizona and California, you can be in a desert, and if you have mountains that are high enough, then there's pockets of trees and stuff up in the hills. We have a perfect example outside my doorstep. There will be not many trees down at the lowlands, but up in the hills there's way more bushes and trees. And I don't think that these aren't gigantic pines, and these are small, twisted, gnarly, bushy trees mostly, I think. Yep, this brush is, I use the pencil, so it's only black and white, but I use a texture overlay on it, so it actually makes a random pattern that looks like this of white and black. So this is actually, so what I'm doing, I'm painting the mask. So if I look at it, this is what I'm actually painting. So I'm masking, and the other stuff is just for show, so to speak. So, and I can also put a color signature to it. If I want to see where I'm painting even better, I can just use a signal color overlay. So this is going to be saved. This mask is going to be saved as a separate file, and then when I bring it into the 3D tool, I can use it to place real trees or just bumps in the terrain that looks like trees from a distance, depending on the resolution I'm going to render in it. So I'm going to render in World Machine and render it for GIS maps. Then these trees will just be colored this way, and they will be bumps in the map, so to speak. So the deciduous trees will be fluffy round bumps, and the evergreen trees will be spikes sticking up. So I already have programmed that. So what I'm doing here, I'm painting that detailed mask so I get the trees in exactly the right spot. There are already some trees, like these trees and stuff, that I've already programmed automatically that World Machine have created. But it's really hard to program that. It's actually more fun and better to do this manually, because then you get the trees exactly where you want it, and it doesn't look, otherwise it looks kind of to follow too simple of a rule, so to speak. So there are tools that can do this automatically, but in this case I want to make sure I get it exactly the way I want it. So it takes probably about 5 or 6 hours of painting trees for this area, then I'm done. No, the Photoshop file here is basically the texture work that I would then wrap over the 3D models. So I have the height map, the texture maps, the various masks, and then I will import them back into World Machine or View or whatever tool I want to do it. And I can render a full 3D image, and I can also use these height maps and textures and stuff in a GIS tool like QGIS, and then create a 3D topographical map that are really 3D. And buildings and roads and all that will have separate maps. So this is part of the process, not the final thing. So these flat tops and kind of little valleys here will be perfect to put trees in. No, it's not. It's my job. Yep. This is what people pay me for. Yeah, to do stuff like this. It used to be my hobby, but now it's my job. Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's the goal, to have it real, so to speak, so as real as possible. And now I'm working in I'm too close. There we go. So this is 5 feet per pixel. I think this is probably as detailed as World Machine and most 3D tools can make it. If I want to any, but I can take some of these areas, and we can look at Aldit as an example here. So I'm going to go down here and look at, whoops, it's a little bit iffy when I'm scrolling here. So I'm going to go down here and look at Aldit. So here we have the village of Aldit. Oops, there we go. So here we have the village of Aldit, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. So here now you can start seeing the pixels. So here is the limitations. There you have the keep and the houses and stuff. I'm going to bring in a more detailed map of the area that I actually Aldit keep. No, not the keep, but here we have the village. Here we go. So there you have the overview map in Photoshop. Here is a more detailed map or sketch that I just sketched out that I used for my gaming, so to speak. So I've actually taken this and taken so this is actually the simple Photoshop map that I used the background and just detailed it. So this is 20 pixels per 5 feet instead of 1 pixels so this is 20 times more detailed, but it's a quick dirty sketch in Photoshop. So this is what my players get to play in, so to speak, or play with when we do the actual gaming and moving our tokens around and stuff in Fantasy Grounds. I'm using this map, and then we have some. Here are some an early rendering that was done in quick. This has not the fancy textures I'm working on right now. So this is the first version. Here you have with the buildings and the trees and stuff. So this is where the little village, there used to be a town, was situated here on the slopes. So it's a defensible position. You have slopes on two sides, and then there's a wall around it. And this is also a gap between hills on either side. So this was also a kind of, the keep was there to defend this gap because it's one of the easier way to go across. It's a high plateau with hills on both sides, so that's why they built this keep here, both as a stopover for travelers and also to defend this area. So they built it there. So that was the reason. So this is and here you can also see what the trees will look like in World Machine when they're rendered, so to speak, spikes and little bumps. And this is not the finished product. This was an early render I did just to make sure that the concept worked, so to speak. So now I know that the concept works and the technique works, and now I'm actually taking this thing and moving into making the final textures that are good enough, so to speak. And it will actually work. And there are some other places here too. So we can go over here. We have a little village called Orona. That is, and you have the overview map over there up in the corner. So here is another little village with a couple of houses, and it's actually a little peninsula here in the Oron River. And so it's kind of a defensive. They don't have much of a wall. They have a little wooden wall there. That's it. And a couple of watchtowers, and there's some houses. And it was also there to guard the bridge here. But then just a half a mile away down from is the town of hang on a second here. I need to go in here. Delard, the town of Delard. So there is Orona, Aldit, and Delard. And here what it looks. So here's the town of Delard. It's on an island in the central river, so a very defensible position. And it was also here to guard these bridges here and here. And it also have a port with access to the Nirdev and another little port with access up the river, so to speak. And then you can have a toll, so these rivers can be opened or not, sorry, that bridge there opens, so they can open that bridge and have that as a toll and pay toll for the, because the river here is the delta here is kind of full of sediment and stuff. So this is not a river where you can take tiny boats up and down the river, but not big ones. And that's one of the reasons that Dillard here is smaller than Axport, that is 10, 15, 20 miles further east, about 20 miles further east. And that's why Axport is the bigger one, because Axport is a big deep port that can take all the big ships from near Div, but it doesn't have a river flowing out. But this one has the river, but the problem was that the delta here was so soggy, muggy, and and full of sand and stuff. So that's why they built Axport. So I had to kind of tweak the terrain to fit the story, so to speak. Someone else put Axport there where there was no river, so I have to come up with this. So it's a design to make the story fit. So the terrain need to fit the story. So that's what the settlements and stuff look like. So this is what I want to do for big cities and Greyhawk City and whatnot. So I want to have them all detailed like this, and then go in and make it more detailed area map with every house on it. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back up to the area up here again. Here we go. Up here again. Make sure I have, yeah, it's still selected, so I can go back in here again. Okay, I can add a few more trees up here. And here we should probably add a few regular trees too, and not only pines and spruces and stuff. So we take some regular trees here. That's like a waterfall that flows over that edge there. So now it's time to zoom out a bit and see what I'm doing here. Yeah, I think we're starting to get that area done with trees. Now it's time to look at this area here. I put a lot of trees down here because this is kind of boggy country, so no one really wants to go out in the bog and cut down trees. That's kind of difficult, so whatever grows there probably stays there. But I'm not so sure about this. There should be some trees here, so I can probably add some little bit of trees here and there. Add a little bit of trees here and here at the edges of the bog here, and then I could add some more pines, because the evergreen trees can grow in bogs they like the bog environment way more than the leafy trees do for some reason. I think it's an acid toxic environment in the bogs, and some trees are much more hardy when it comes to that than the. Hello Kaulos, welcome. I'm sitting here, I'm Anna Meyer. I'm sitting here working on my Shieldlands map for my campaign and for Greyhawk fans, so this will be available on my website and stuff down the line. So okay, so the good thing with doing a stream like this is that I have to sit here and work. I can't slack away at work in that, so that's the good thing. So let's add a lot of pines and evergreen trees here at the edge. They probably don't grow in the middle of the bog, but the fringes of the bog are prime target for these trees, and it's also usually not fun terrain to wade around in, so people tend to not go out there and cut them down. So they tend to stay small and stinted, and these green areas probably have more of them, so I kind of put in extra around here. So there we. So not much more going on right now than me painting trees in the southern Shieldland map here. But there will be some, I might get into some houses and stuff, but I want to get the main big thing in texture work on this map is actually the trees. That's about 60%. Okay, BR. Thank you so much, and good night. I hope you. I will do this more often, so I'll announce more times and see if I can put in regular hours every week to do this. I'm definitely going to work on it, so I want to, and streaming seems to work really well. So yeah. And it's interesting, if someone wants to have a defensible position, I'm thinking that someone will probably build a keep out here in the bog somewhere or something. And yeah, David, you have some fellow European or fellow British or something over there. So you're up early, or maybe you're up late. Yeah. I thought a Friday night would be no one, but it's good. We have some 11 people watching right now, so that's good. I was thinking it could be someone could build a keep out here in the bog. You can haul some rocks out here and build a foundation, and it will be a very defensible position. It will be hard to build and hard to get to, but okay, you're up late. Yep. I hope you can sleep in tomorrow. Well, it's Saturday tomorrow, so you should be able to sleep in. But when I see these trees like that, this looks actually, even I think it looks photoreal. It looks real enough to really be fun and interesting. So, and I think I'm going to just keep going here at the borders and edges of the bogs. And just go over all them. Yeah, I think they can, but because they had one thing that medieval people didn't have. They had magic, which means that they can cut through rocks. They can they can create rocks and mud, and they can excavate using magic a bit more efficient, and also big creatures a bit more efficient than people did. And people built canals, they made dams and stuff like that. Not on the scale we do in the real world today, I don't think, but they can certainly do it on the a bit more advanced than they certainly what they did in the Renaissance. I think they can do what we did 300-400 years ago. Oh, cool! Spelljammer Day. I didn't know the Spelljammer had a day, but that's awesome. So you're going to do streams with Aldit? Or sorry, old. I forgot his name, but the one that you play with, that you're in his games. Exactly. Summon an earth elemental and anything is possible. Yep. Yep. You have Umber Hulks, earth elementals, and stuff like that. If you get them to work for you, you can do a lot of cool stuff. So I can clearly see it. And in my campaign world, the Celinton, the upper part of the Celinton north of Greyhawk City is actually a man-made canal. Because otherwise I don't see, near Div doesn't have two outlets naturally, so to speak. Lakes don't tend to have that. So Old Dragon, yes, there we go. Yep, thank you. Yep. So I'm going to go over. I need to tweak these waters a bit one more because they're just fresh from the renders. So they need to get one more TLC before they're done, but I've thought that right now for my campaign I need trees more than anything. So yeah. Yeah, definitely could lead. But back then, when they did it, both Divers and Greyhawk was run by the Rossies, by the Grey Kingdom, so they couldn't say anything. They could protest a bit locally, but the Overking in back in Roxy's was the one calling the shots when they did it. So yeah. Yeah, I've actually put those write-ups in Evernote. They are fantastic. He done a fantastic job, so you have to thank him from me. They are they are great. And here we have a lake, and on the edge of the lakes there's much more water and humid and stuff, so I put in some extra trees here. I'm still working with the evergreens here, so I'm going to put in. And the trick is to have these brushes that kind of put in 20 or 30 or 40 trees randomly scattered around the brush. That means that I can just, it's a bit like Stipple. I just doodle with the pen a bit here with my Wacom tablet pen, and the trees get distributed in what I think looks really natural. So it's kind of the, I can show you a bit what it looks like. So I used a pencil like this, and I have a texture overlay and some scattering and a bit of shape dynamics, and with that combination of that it becomes basically random distributed dots of white on the mask. Okay, so I can just keep, I should probably go back down here and do the ones that are closer to where my campaign is, because I need to use this before it is done completely, so to speak. That's one of the, my players get to play with things that are only half done because I'm not, I don't polish everything done. So for my own games, things run on a kind of a half done basis. So I put in some evergreens in here. In this bog that had a name that I've now forgotten, I gave this bog a name. Well, it will be mixed trees, but what I do, I use my own experience and I try to read on things. So I have, like, in bogs, I know that evergreen trees grows way better than the leafy trees, so to speak. But I go with, I read, I observe. I'm out hiking and stuff like that. So I look at different terrains, I look at videos and stuff like that for inspiration. And I try to look at real maps to see where it is. And yeah, what percentage of my maps actually, over time, it is probably a fair bit of maps, maybe 25-30% or something like that, but not the right way. I try to go back to areas over and over again, so to speak, for campaigns. So we've been in this village of Aldet now for 15 sessions, and we will probably be there for 3 or 4 more sessions, so 20 sessions. So that area is worn out, so to speak. I've used that over and over and over now. We've been to every house in the keep and stuff. We haven't been to all of the dungeons under the village yet. There are some secret hideouts that they haven't explored yet. So over time, I tend to use a lot of them, but these are made for a decade or more. So I might come back here for a future campaign. I might come here for, hopefully can do some DMing for D&D in a castle in England next year, and that's where I want to use this map too. So this area will be used for that too. Yes, yes, David. If they, yeah, it's one of these work in progress signs sitting, and if that's the case, then the terrain might look completely different when they wake up. Yep, it's under construction. Yep. And we add some deciduous trees here too. few here at the bog, and also down here at the river here. And then I'm going to follow this river here and add a few down here too. Just yep, DMing in the literal castle. Yep. And for the they are not going to run it this year. So they postpone it. They cancel this year. So it will be, I think they will run two different, it will be a spring and a fall castle, I think. One in March, April, and one in August, September. One period. So it will be like 4 weeks, I think, in or 3 or 4 weeks in the spring, and a bunch of weeks in fall, so to speak. So I don't know if I will be DMing on one of these weeks. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah, I think they done it both in France and in England, and then I think they settled down and done it in England only for a few years. But I think they're up to like 4 or 5 years now. Okay, let's do here. Yeah, it's cool. I think it will be a lot of fun. Okay, now we can add some trees here at the shorelines too, because these are kind of non-exposed shorelines. So we have the Near-Div coast, so to speak, and the Near-Div, I see it as so big that these are, even if Near-Div is freshwater or slightly brackish, but it's so large that it's more like a real genuine coastline. So it's kind of harsh just at the coastline. But these are protective inlet here. So here I have it that there are reeds and muds and stuff. So there's probably nice humid soil here where trees can get plenty of water. So I assume that there could be some trees, and there might be some people who've been around with axes here, but I don't think this was somewhere people haven't lived here for a while. So these are probably low bushy trees that have grown over at least the last 20 or so years. And so there have been wars for well over 20 years now. So not that many people have chopped down. There are some people. There are a settlement here. Is a little settlement of refugees and small huts and stuff. There used to be these kind of a little settlement of people that basically scavenged the beach and lived on hunting and scavenging and around here. And then they went to, in the winter when the climate got too cold and harsh, they basically went to one of the towns or and lived there or next to it and stayed there and sold off their stuff. But in the summer, spring, summer, and fall, they lived out here by the Near-Div coast and collected things and hunted and stuff like that. So it was probably a tough existence, but definitely plausible. And then they had a few small patches where they can grow some vegetables and keep some chickens or something maybe. But on the other hand, I think most of the meat and stuff they got from hunting ducks and animals like that, and then do some fishing and things. And here is a little bit of land that is kind of inaccessible, so it's probably full of trees here a little bit. It's too close to the coast, so I'll take a few away here. There we go. Same thing along this river here. I add a few, this little creek here. There we go. And the same thing around this little lake here. And since Nurdiv is a lake, it doesn't have much in the form of tides, so the coastlines are fairly level, so to speak. They don't go up and down regularly. It's more like in spring it will probably flood some of this, and then in during summer, fall, it will be more stable and fall down. So it's more seasonal than tidal. But it is so large, it's like 200 miles long, so it probably has a minuscule, a few inches in tide, I would assume, because it's that big, but it's nothing like you would find in an ocean. But on the other hand, it's more seasonal than an ocean, so a lot of the rivers will flood in spring and you will have a kind of significant increase. Yeah, it doesn't get much more fun than this. Put some extra trees on that one there. Okay. Now it's time to put a little bit of trees up here in these low hills here. Probably there's enough water draining down from them at times, so there's a few bushy trees here in the crevasses going here and there. In here. But these places have been settled for thousands of years, so not that many. Most things have been chopped down here a long time ago and not grown back again. But the last almost 30 years, or at least 20 some years, have been warlike, and a lot of people have fled. So I don't think there's been much logging the past 20 or so years. So bushes are definitely starting to grow. So I have to, if I redo this 10 years later, but on the other hand, then it might be peace. So it might be less trees again. We'll see. But I add a little bit of trees here. There we go. And around these little lake up here, I can add some trees there. And here I should do some evergreens inside the bog here. Boggy area. Put some pines there. There we go. I can put a few here when I'm at it. So, and then we go back to deciduous trees and just add a sprinkle of bushes and other trees around here. This is where I'm normally would listen to podcasts or a YouTube video or Netflix or Curiosity Stream or something like that in the background. I get a lot of podcast listen done when I'm, or audiobooks or something, because some days I can have 3 or 4 days of work like this. Yeah, there will definitely be areas. I'm thinking you have down south, you have areas that might be more prone where it's a little bit on the drier side. and up north might not be that 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 warm, so to speak, but definitely southern Keel land. You could have down, I think, the Granwood, Medegia, and Sundi and stuff like those are roughly where Spain, Portugal, Southern California and stuff where we are. So those areas would definitely be could be prone to wildfires. But if fancy, they could probably do something, meaning they could call in water elementals, they can create water, they can cool with spells and stuff. So if you're there before it grows really big, you can do something. But on the other hand, if you want to be mischievous and create forest fires, you can really do so with magic and fire elementals and stuff. So at least they have more possible ways of fighting fires than medieval people in yeah, exactly, Pete Bog. That, yeah, summon a water elemental is probably what you should do if you want to fight a forest fire, if you're early. Otherwise it might be too late. And druids and stuff can control weather, so you can actually create rain and stuff too. So in that way they might be very effective at managing forest fires. But some druids might want to have fires at times because it is kind of a natural phenomena. There are trees and plants and stuff that need the fires in order to to thrive and prosper. So I put in, this is along the road here, so I'm going to be extra sparse, but up here in the more hidden nooks and small crevasses up in the hills, that's where I put in more trees, because people are lazy. They don't go up there to cut down the trees, so they let them grow. But they take the ones that are close to roads and rivers and stuff. Yep, let's see here. Put a few more in here. And we can have a couple of hidden trees here in this grass, but then we're getting close to the town, or the old town, and or the village here. Let's see here. We have some monsters that, well, we have we have the elementals, and I bet that we also have some demons and devils and stuff that are prone to use fires. Dragons use fires. So there are plenty of critters and of various kinds that use fire. So yeah, so I would have them in spite. They can definitely start fires. And humans, yes, humanoids and others. Yep. It's like in the real world in that way, but then you have some other nasty creatures too that can. And here it's time to put some trees on these flat river beds here that are away from the river. This is a perfect spot for trees to grow. And it's also on the other side where no one lives, so I don't think anyone has been over here and cut the trees down for quite some time. So we can have some. I just need to check my mask again here. Yep, it's there. Good. I'm going to place some trees along the bottom of because they get a lot of water down there, so that's a good spot for them to grow. Let's see here. There we go. We can add a few more trees here down by the water line here, just a few more trees to get it interesting, and then we can see if we can add some out in the around here, because that's kind of marshy, and people have a tendency of not wanting to go out there, I think, to get get too wet in order to cut down the trees. And I'll add some trees there. There we go. Yeah, what I do is that I think about the general area where the settlements been. First of all, how civilized it is, and how if it's been inhabited by people for generations, they have a tendency of cutting down forests. And I assume that southern Chile then has been settled for 5-10,000 years. So it's basically like Europe in that sense. It's enough to they've taken down trees for generations and generations. It's also fairly dry. It's a bit drier than Western Europe. It's more like the Eastern Europe, Central Eastern Europe. So it's so dry that if you cut down most of the trees, it will be hard and take a long time for the trees to grow back again. So I simply assume that in most easily accessible areas, people have cut down the trees and converted it to they withered away the soil and it being converted to grassland. But they're up in the hills and inaccessible places. There you have leftover parts of what used to be the old primeval forest, so to speak, that probably been here since the last ice age. So that's why I have up in the hills here. Here are a lot of conifers and trees up in the hills because it's inaccessible, and it's also up in the clouds, so they have another source, an extra source of humidity up there too. And also the mountain slopes concentrate water down the valleys and stuff. So alongside there you, that's why you can have more trees. They can get moisture from air, and also even in the ground in places up there is probably more moist and yeah, the natural cities come after the train, yes, but I need to have canon to think about it. I need to say, so what I do when I create the terrain, I already have the idea. I know that, oh, export needs to be here and crit wall needs to be there, etc. So I want to design the terrain to fit the story, so to speak. So that's the important bit. So I want to make sure that the terrain fits the stories. And then I go in, and here, for instance, I've added two of my own settlements. So I have the village of Verona here, and I have the town of Dillard here. But since they are on separate layers, I can actually just click and remove civilization like this, and I can even paint over the ugly bits here and have a primeval version, an untouched version of the map. So anyone can take this Photoshop file and go in and paint in their own buildings and their own roads and all that, so to speak. So I have them on a separate civilization layer. Yeah, you can. Some cultures are good at managing forest and regrowth, but look at human history. Humans have been bad at managing forest over time, so to speak. That's something we've started to do now but most for mankind, and we're still doing it on a global level. We are simply using up more than we put back. And I assume that most fantasy races would do that. Not all. I think elves and druids and others, they will be the ones that the tree huggers, so to speak. Elves simply naturally, because they live so long, so they will probably start thinking, meaning their grandkids will be 2,000 years from now, so they have a much longer uh, for, they look longer in the future, so to speak. So they live in millennia rather than months or years. So I think they will probably be more, and also in worlds like Greyhawk, the Druid faith, they will also look at the long term, so to speak. Yes, I always try to, when I design these, I try to look into reverse into meaning where should you put down a town, and so I have an idea that, okay, or so often I need to have a town or a city there because the story demands it, and then I try to design the terrain so that it will fit, and then I'll have to kind of tweak what the city looks like or the town looks like to fit. Like Orona here, for instance, is an example. I placed it on this little peninsula in the river because it's a defensible position, and it's a good spot for the bridge, and those two things, the defensible position and the bridge, and also the near div. They can take their little rowboat out, go out and fish, and they can farm, and they have the hills nearby and stuff. So it's probably a decent, good place to live. Fairly easy, defensible, and access to fresh water all year round. And they also had to make sure that they might have their houses on stilts, so they are built 5 feet up or something like that when it floods. So yeah. Yeah, interesting. I read an interesting scientific article a few months ago that there are more than we normally realize, that the Amazon might be too much for man-made, but a lot of more climate, more nature than we think have actually been shaped by mankind, and not always to the detrimental, so to speak. We have also promoted a lot of species and stuff. So it's kind of interesting that there might be some surprises down the line. So yeah. Yep, I think we should be inspired by the real world and then make cool, interesting fantasy twists to those stories and use it as inspiration. That's what I try to do, and it's a lot of fun to do that. Here we have. Oh, I'm sorry, I bumped into the microphone. Here we have another bog, so I'm going to start add some trees up here in the boggy area here. I'm going to add some evergreens out here in the boggy area. Yep, Baba Yaga's real estate agents. Yep. Yeah. So I'm going to. I hope that the picture is sharp. When I looked at the test stream, it actually looks good. I'm using 2560 by 1440, and I stream in the same resolution as the screen is set. So hopefully it's sharp enough that you can see it. So yeah. Yep, floating houses I think is it's something that it would be very useful to have, especially when climate change is happening fast, so to speak. And not only that they can go up and down, you can actually move them from one location to the other too. So they can move in many different directions. Might be that the places to put them might be limited though, but in Holland you have so much water, so it's probably a real smart thing to do. Yep, I'm definitely want to do that. I think Radegast City is an interesting place to put stuff like that because it's a river delta, which means that it's flooding up and down. And then there's several other places that are river deltas and swamplands like that. You have areas with the Nessermouth River, and yeah, there's several other places where you can have it. Uh, Maybe we can add a little few trees here in the. People tend to want to have a few trees. They don't cut down all the trees where they live. They want to have a few trees here and there. And also this part here can add some trees there. So there we go. And then we do some deciduous trees here too. Add a few in here, especially now during the war, because there's a lot of people have moved away or fled from here. So it's just a few hardy left. There we go. I need to zoom in. There we go. Yeah. Then we can add a few more trees here along the lake here. Okay, now I think it's time to... Yeah, the Rennie should inherit Earth. Yep. I think they're really cool. Okay, time for save again in case I have it set to save, auto save while I'm working. The problem is that the file is so big that auto save doesn't work that well. So I want to save at least every half hour or so. And then start a new version of the file. This is the 10th version of this file. So every work session I start with a new file. So that way if I screw up or want to revert back to previous, I have it. So I tend to build hundreds of files over time. So every month or so I need to clean out my Dropbox where I work on things in Dropbox. So yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah, my monitors are actually 30-inch. So if you have a 14-inch then you could probably not read it so that well. But if you zoom in, so the stream is streamed one by one, pixel by pixel, so it should be sharp. So if you have a big screen to watch this, then it should look good. But when I did a test stream earlier today, like 10 minutes, and streamed it, it looked really good. So, okay, let's see if we can make some buildings or work something on that. I need to start seeing if there are any other settlements or stuff I need to do, and some farmland and stuff, because now we've done, it's kind of boring to just do one thing for hours. We need to, the important thing is to not get into just doing it on autopilot. You need to put some effort into it and thinking, and when you start just doodling without thinking, then it's time to do something, vary a little bit. So now it's time to look for more trails, more buildings, more civilization to work on. Let's see, it saved 83%. I'm going to have a little drink here while I'm doing this. Okay, this is great. So thank you everyone for... Yep, it's 1440p. So yep. I'm see if I'm going to test and do a stream in 4K. It might be a little bit overkill, but 1440 actually seems to work both for my internet speed, and it works with my monitor and stuff. And that's one of the main reasons I chose YouTube over Twitch, because Twitch would not allow me to go over 1080, and to work in 1080 will be so limiting for me. So it will be terrible. And if I work in a higher resolution than I stream, then everything would just look blurry. So that's the boring bit. Okay, so now it's time to, but since the players are here, so I need to start being a little bit kind of work on things that will be needed for the story to begin with, so to speak, and then have a temporary version of the map and then go back, because this will probably take another 4 or 5 sessions, probably 10 more work sessions before this map is done. So we have all that here, and this is here is the road to, I'm going to put away my Wacom here. So this is the road southwest from Aldet, and Aldet is here, and the road goes here towards Critwall. And I have one other settlement down this road, so I continue down, and the road actually goes down in this little in here, and maybe I need to take the road some other way, but it's hard because these cliffs, these steep things here, that is actually not that steep, but I need to, this one I need to look over and see if the road actually should go there or not. and then I follow down here, and somewhere around here should be a settlement down here. Yep, here is a settlement. I haven't named it yet. Oh, I haven't named this settlement, but this is a settlement that is now a ruin. Oh, hang on a second. I have. It is actually Sumel. It's a ruined village in my campaign in the map here. This is Sumel, and they have these kind of it's not high walls, but it's these where you take all the boulders that are on your field and you pile them up around, so to speak. Okay. Oh, thank you, Gord. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. It looks good. Yeah, for me, though, these local little things are what makes up the interesting bits, so to speak. So this is what really affects it. And I need to think, because this was the main road north of Nirduv between Radagast City and Critwall back in the day, in the early days of when Great Kingdom actually expanded this way. This was the border road and the road that went north of the Nirdiv. So if the ones that didn't go, the ones that walked or used their horse or wagon, they actually went this way. And then they built the Great Northern Airdi Road about 100 miles north of here later on, so to speak. But this was one of these Diravain or whatever you call it, these kind of Airdi roads back in the day. And then it saw less and less traffic as the Great Kingdom fell apart, and it became a local regional road in Shieldlands instead. And then came the the Greyhawk Wars and stuff. But I need to figure out where this road goes that way up. That's one of the things, and I need to work a little bit more on this settlement. But here we should probably look a little bit at trees here too. And then I have only taken the road this far. Oops, this far, but we should probably take the road further. And then we have one other interesting aspect. Then we have a fair big river to cross here. And this is a river that is going. Oh, hang on a second. Yeah, it's going that way, and so it's flowing in that direction. So the road needs to cross here. So we need to have a bridge and probably some other little village or something there, a bridge and a small settlement that might be ruined or not. So let's go in here and choose trails again. There we go. And this is probably big enough, so I'm going to put it up to 2 pixels, and then I'm going to make sure I deselect mask so we can paint anywhere, and then select the right layer, and then go in here and start adding the road again here. There we go. I could probably go through this gap here. And before I do that, we should probably take a look at the terrain so we see what the 3D profile is at that area. So let's zoom out here and go down here. And this is where Aldit is. And so the road went down in here. And Sumel is here over that river, and the one we looked at is here. So we are looking at doing the road that way, and like you can see, it's almost flat, so it's no biggie. We don't have to worry about any major obstacles that way, so we can just go at what the terrain look like and just do the follow here a bit. So I'm just gonna follow the contours in here and stay away from bogs and rivers and stuff, and just go across here. And then take this open. And these rivers and small creeks need to be edited. I'm going to go over them and spend one day and edit them and stuff, because they're a little bit like this here. This is the whole riverbed. It's not filled to the brim like this all the time. So there will be a smaller center portion that will meander through this, and the rest, a lot of it will just be the riverbed, so to speak. So again, like in spring and early summer, like from winter to early summer, or at least winter and spring, this river here might be almost impossible to get across unless you have a bridge or a little boat or canoe or something, or can swim. But from summer to fall to into winter, the water might be so low that it's easy to ford it, so to speak. So fords and stuff have a tendency of being seasonal in temperate areas, because the amount of water flowing can be very different from different times of years. So I'm going to go down here, and this looks like a good location for to have a bridge across. And then we have an interesting bit here. We have some cliffs, little rock and stuff sticking up, and I think that's kind of interesting, because you can have a keep here or something that can actually keep a watchful eye on the river. So I'm going to take the road across there, and then we have to paint in and fix the buildings and the river. So maybe, hang on a second here. Now I'm going to take a look at the 3D map here again, and we'll see how tall these, there they are. Hang on a second here. Sometimes it's hard to orient yourself. Now I need to look at both here at the same time. So we have that is Somel. Okay. I'm sorry, I should. Now you see, even me, I can get lost in my own maps here. So let me zoom out a bit here, so we have more to go by. So here we have that lake is very. It's that one. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, some ridgeways are interesting, because the roads, how you place them, were very important, I think, in medieval times, because you couldn't do much. You had to follow the terrain. You couldn't just cut through or pile up a lot of stuff. So yep, there are towns in northern Scandinavia and stuff too that are hard to get to, except when they open roads in the winter where it freezes over. So in the summer you have to take the boat to some places, and then in the winter you can drive to them. So it's some logging towns and stuff that work that way. They basically pile up all the timber, and then they drive it out in the winter. Okay, so we have that one. Might not even be big enough in low resolution that we see it. So here we go. Yeah, we have it. There they are. These are the ridges. Let's look at them in at least as high resolution as we can have here. Yep, there we go. Yeah. I kind of like the idea of building a some sort of village or something in here, because you get it's a very defensible position. So I kind of like that idea. I'm going to look at it closer like this. Oh yeah, there are lots of places. My guess is in Flanies that you can only reach in certain times of the year. And for instance, take Lake Quag for instance. Lake Quag probably freezes over in the winter, which means that then you can use instead of ships, you can actually make these kind of rafts that skate. So you have these that put sails on them, and they can be the fastest transport ever. And that could be really cool. So some of these rivers and lakes and stuff freezes over. So yeah. Mhm. Yeah, you can there's when you have climates that are extreme like that, it gets a lot of interesting stuff. So I'm tempted to put the village or something in here, because that is a natural uh, a place where they're hidden about. So I think I'm going to do that for fun and see what that looks like. So I'm going to see what we can do here. But then we should probably move the bridge from here down to here, so they can keep a lookout for to actually see it. We should put it down, yeah, down here or something. So I'm going to take this again, and I'm going to make the brush a bit bigger, and then take the black and then dial it back that far, and then go down to 2 again. There we go. And then zoom in a little bit here, and then paint in the river. Say that the bridge is here. Bridge tend to be, oops, no, bridge tend to be straight, so do that. Then just go like this, and then around that little bend there. And then just follow the details and the textures a bit here. And there we have the road. And now I need to look at it, because it is uphill a little bit. So the road can either go, the main road can either just go like this and follow the river, and that way they don't have to go up at all and simply go around the thing. But hang on a second, I think I've seen the way up, so I'm going to undo the brush and simply say that they go around here instead. So they go around here, and then it's a very gentle slope up here, very gentle up into the village there, and then the village is actually in here. And then what you need is a city wall that way, and wall that way, and wall that way, and you have your defenses. So I'm just going to say that the main thoroughfare just follows this here, and that goes out there. Then I make one other street road go that way, and then we have the middle of the village there. That will be so now we can start having that. And then the road goes out that way, and then it goes a little bit in circle like that, so you don't get the full brunt of the slope in straight down. And then we can go across that one there. So then we made something interesting there. Let's see here. Okay, I'm sorry for my voice, it's kind of terrible today. Worse than usual, I think. Okay, so let's do some buildings and stuff. And now I need to have a pencil, and I need to get rid of the texture and the scattering, and I can keep the shape dynamics. And the size should be maybe 1 or 2. I start out with 1. And then I have some colors already set here. can notice that I get, now we need to have, they probably don't have that much wood, but they have rocks strewn around here, so I'm just gonna set that they used, we use a medium gray, probably a little bit darker gray here. Darken the gray a bit. There we go. Going to start with that one, and then we can start putting some wall here. So that put some defenses here. So we add defensive wall that way, and then we add a defensive wall here and one there. No, that's not the spot. We should follow the contours. There is a natural there, so to speak, for it's maybe not the shortest, but it's in the spot where it's on the road, and this was such a neat little place for people to settle with the hills as a backdrop, and they can build some keep or something up here on the and keep an eye out, and it's a fairly defensible position. So, and then they have the river crossing there. So I think someone came up with the idea of building, that might even be an older river crossing somewhere around here that they didn't have. And there's another, here is another one that is really good too. Oh yes, yeah, the length, we can actually go in here, and that's why I chose this scale, because it's 5 feet per pixel. So we can actually see 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So about 60 feet. So the bridge is about 60 feet, which I think it's fairly within reason, even in a fantasy world, to have a stone bridge or something, or even a wooden bridge made that are 60 feet. That you can probably span that in one span in 60 feet. A 60 feet span, I've seen that in Sweden, many really old bridges that have a span of about 10, yeah, almost up to 60 feet, I think, about 20 meters or so. Definitely 10, so you can might have two spans, so you put one in the middle, so to speak. But you can make a wooden bridge. I'm sure you can make that one. A stone bridge, yeah, maybe, yeah. But a wooden bridge, definitely. And what we can have might have a stone bridge with an opening in the middle. There you can actually open and close the bridge, and then take out a toll for people who want to go across it. That might be too. So now I'm just gonna add little wall here, and then we build a little keep there. So here we have a little town, or a fortified village. It's probably big enough for a tiny town. Now it's probably more like a village. You can fit, like we can see here, it's probably about 200 feet. Yeah, 300 by 200 feet or something like that. So now I need to add it in. Now we need to give it a name and put it on my map here. So we have it over there. So if we go in here, it's about here. So it's between Sommel and South Keep. We need to add another village. So now we need to go in here and click on this, and then we need to give it a name. It might be too tight for here, so but yeah, let's see here. That we have villages, so let's do this, and we have village. I'm going to take ruined like this. here, and then we need to give it a name. So see if you have any cool names. So I'm going to take my go-to, the ever-changing book of names by Sami Puri. It's so cool. So I go to Greyhawk, and now we go into Shieldlands, and we're going to give it a name. And it needs to be a name that is more a name of a town and not name of a person. So yeah, let's see here. I like the village of Noholet. That means no hole in Swedish. So it's kind of funny. I take Noholet, the village of Noholet. So I'm going to put that on side here. So I can put it back in, and I'm going to copy that, and then we put that in. So I'm going to go here and going to go reference layer and click on the right layer and then put in here. It's getting tight here, but that's happens in all my campaign areas. There we go. Village 6 point outline. And then we give that the right style there. Yeah, now we've been up to 2 hours, so I think I'm going to end it in a little bit here. So I know that things are on top of each other or whatever, but this is my campaign map, so it can look a little bit whatever you want. So I'm going to save it there. Okay, so there we go. And I'm sorry it takes a little while because when I'm streaming and I'm running 2, 3, 4 types of software at the same time, so I'm a bit overwhelming my computer. So I'm going to get a faster one as soon as the prices of graphics cards and stuff comes down a bit, and need to save up a bit. I'm going to get a new graphic workstation that have more cores and more CPU, more memory and stuff. So yeah. Back formations from nearby places. Yeah, it's hard to, yeah, I try to everything. It's kind of things influence each other. So one kind of lead into the other, and so on. Like here I found something interesting on the map in an interesting spot. So there, yeah. Yep, I have a west keep that goes with south keep, and I have a north keep too. But I think north keep got lost somewhere in the fray. Hang on a second here. Let's zoom out what we have here. So I have a west keep. We have Tor keep, but that's is not part of that. So we have a south keep, a west keep, and we don't have a north keep. It got lost here somewhere in the fray over the years. So that I'm sure there were a east keep and a north keep too, but they got lost. So the west keep and the south keep they were kept, so to speak. Okay, so here are the, so let's see if we can do some buildings here. So they probably had some boulders and stuff to build it, to create the buildings from too. So I'm going to create some stone buildings here. So we have a few small little stone buildings along the stuff here, and then we probably have a big inn or something here. That's probably the main reason that the town was here, as a stopover for the traffic on the stuff here. And then we have, maybe we can have some other building that's a little bit bigger, that the rich people who person who runs this place, who used to run it, lives in a house that is fairly, and he might own the inn and stuff too. And then we probably have something that is a sort of a temple or an other assembly building or something. And then we can go in here and create some wooden huts and stuff here. So we take some wood red and we make some small little wooden houses here that are kind of insignificant, more little hut-like things that only like 6 or 4x4 or something like that. So we go in here, and none of these are big fancy buildings, so they are, even this is like 8x8 pixels or something like that in so none of it is particularly, they're all small insignificant houses. So this is not rich, so to speak. So yeah. Okay, thank you so much, David, for hanging out with me and coming with all the interesting questions and stuff. And thank you so much for all your help. So, yeah, I'm not going to stream much, so it's much more than this. So it will be another 15 minutes or so. Then I'll end it. I put some more little wooden huts and stuff here up. Could be a little trail here, so. What we might do is that we put roads, and then we go back to brush tool and have trails. We can add a little trail going up that way, and we can add a little trail going around here. There we go. Oh, thank you. So, and then we add some so, and then we zoom out like that. Then we have a little village. We have the village of Noholet. And now I'm going to save, and then I think it's time to end this and see. So thank you everyone who came and spent some time with me in Photoshop working on Southern Shieldland. So this map, I've worked probably about 5 hours to get it this shape from the raw render, and it will probably be about 40 hours of work on it all in all. So about a week's work worth of Photoshop work before it's done, so to speak. Oh, thank you, David. Yep. And thank you, Carlos. Yep. So definitely, I want to see, maybe I can start doing streams like this at least on weekly basis, maybe even twice a week. And I might throw in some extras now and then, because it's actually good to keep me focused on doing things. So it's actually, it's good that way too. So this was the first test, and I must say, for being the very first stream, it was not that bad. So yeah, it works. And then we might have a Discord chat while we're doing this or something too. It might be more fun. Okay. Thank you, Gord. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of, this is a little bit special, but I thought it would not be interesting, but I hope it's been, and it's kind of a in and when I get a faster computer, then we can do way more stuff. Then we can work on 3D in World Machine and look at stuff like that too, because otherwise it's so much waiting in between, so it must be terribly boring to watch. But once we have the I have a faster computer, then I can do way more, so to speak. So thank you, Pete Bog, and yeah, and Gord, and Carlos, and so on, for watching it. I will definitely be back next week, so I'll announce it a little bit earlier that way, with some days to days in advance, so to speak, and go over it, and we'll have theme. But it will be more Shieldlands work, because this is, I work on one other project right now, but that's under NDA, so I can't stream that. So that's why I will work on this too. So yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. So I'm going to end the stream now, and thank you so much for being here, helping me out to do this, and I'll hope you can tune in next week. Okay, bye.